How's it going, YouTube? Welcome to round 3 of PSGL F14, and today we are racing round Silverstone, and as you can see we're on our out lap and we don't really get the best qualifying session, so we're here warming up our tyres, and what you will see is that we go a little bit too eager and touch the grass and we're out. We are out of qualifying in the first, on the first lap really, on the first out lap of that we did altogether, so not really the best to start, so we're going to start down in P13, right at the back of the grid. So as you can see, we've got 5 red lights in the wet, round Silverstone. I did put my setup a little bit more towards a wet style setup, but it wasn't meant to be, I don't think, but we get quite a good launch, and another car just disappearing. We get knocked out outside track limits, but we end up getting back into it, so not really much of dirty driving. A couple of people sliding about on the opening lap, and we tried to go around the outside, see if there's any grip there. Nothing really happening, but losing the rear a little bit. A couple of other drivers doing the same thing, and my teammate loses the rear out of that corner and he drops down to cold dead last. And now we move over towards the end of lap 1, and as you can see, the Alfa Romeo does not get a good exit of this time and goes a little bit wide. I don't know if he bottomed out, but we are going to try and make the most of that. We try and go up the inside, and I just was not confident in the wet. I haven't done much practice in the wet, but we do sort of hold the position. He does go a little bit wide, but now we got Mr. Sneaky from the McLaren going up the inside and just outbraking me and making an incredible move there. Going on to lap 5, we do lose the position to the Alfa Romeo again, but we are going to fight for it back on lap 5. We go onto the straight, and right now we need to use this ERS to try and get past him. There was really a 50-50 of whether you went into the corner and there was grip or wasn't, but we go up this tight little gap that there was still there to stay within track limits, and then holding it around the outside to try and keep this position. We get onto the throttle a lot quicker, and I think that ends up giving us that position. Did notice looking back through this recording that I do not use ERS as much as I should in the wet. Could be something to do with the fact that I don't trust myself and possibly losing the rears. But now we go into the end of lap 5. Mr. Sneaky loses the rear end, and just being a little bit impatient. I tried to go for a gap, but knowing that Mr. Sneaky was losing the rear, should have really stayed a little bit behind. Ended up costing a little bit. We didn't get any damage, luckily, but end of lap 7, we get a safety car, which means we are going in for a fresh set of tyres. Slowed down enough so make sure that we didn't get enough penalties. My teammate decided to stay out. I wasn't too sure if he boxed after that first lap incident where he went wide, but hopefully we are going to put on some fresh set of wet tyres and have a little bit more grip. Throughout the race it wasn't really clear. At the start it was wet tyres, but when you got to sort of like lap 15, the game was saying that maybe go on to intermediates. But on the safety car restart, as you can see, there is a big gap forming behind. So I actually found out later that what had happened is that there was a car that lagged from one position, went back a couple of positions, which then gave a driver a illegal overtake, so they had to slow down to not get a penalty. But putting that all to one side, lap 11 we resumed back to green flag racing. We're stuck behind the Mercedes, but we're P6 at the moment, so not too bad. Going into lap 12, as you can see, we got HD Storm right behind us. We're battling, and again we have random damage that's just pops up, so I'm not sure what that is. If anybody has any idea of what that could be, drop a comment down below. But HD Storm going up the inside, going a little bit too deep, and we do a little switch back. Can we hold it? I don't think we do, or do we? We may outbrake, but we do lock up, so not really the best sort of second stint with the wet tyres. We got a little bit wide. Now we got the Williams behind us, Lumi, and he just sends it over the curb, and I'm surprised that he was able to keep that car on track. Didn't spin out, didn't lock up. It was I was gobsmacked through the race of how he managed to do that. But then lap 16 we have got the Mercedes in front of us, so we're going to try and push. HD Storm has got a 5-second penalty, but he has spun out coming out of that final corner, so we gained another position, going up to P6 now. We got to lap 20, the tyres weren't feeling great, and the game sort of said, it's time for intermediate tyres, so we risked it. We should have really come in maybe 1 or 2 laps earlier to put on the intermediates, but coming out of the pits, when I put the limiter off, we spin up the rears and go straight into the wall to damage the front right side of our wing. Nothing really much happens until the very last lap when we catch up to my teammate and Lipix. They are squabbling in front of us, so we try and go through a Lewis Hamilton style move, but because it's wet we spin up the rears a little bit and lose the traction. Andy's having the same sort of issue, losing the traction a little bit, but we go up the inside, keep the position, we move up to 8th, and now it's just a matter of trying to keep with Andy to try and then find some grip in a corner. You can see that the track's a little bit drier than what it was. It's still quite wet, but the racing line is sort of dryish, so I don't know if that's a positive, but Andy loses the rear again. We end up going through to P7, and that is exactly where we finished. So as you can see, we pull enough away a gap. Going into the final few corners, as you can see, we are P7, but we do go wide a little bit. I wasn't sure if that sneaky contact would get us a penalty, but I haven't seen anything yet. Nothing's been reported, but we finished Silverstone in P7. Emphatic wins again, and we do get driver of the day. Next track that we got is Qatar next week, so hopefully we have a better race next week.